The evening comes on the 14th, and you make the bracha. The bracha covers the following day's burning, which is, as I said, it's search and destroy mission. It comes together, the searching and the destroying. Now, if you look on page 47, Ravid, are you ready to read for us a little bit? The section 8, we're Penina Lacha, Laws of Pesach, chapter 3, if I'm not mistaken. Chapter 4, section 8.
Most Jewish families clean their homes thoroughly before Pesach. Any part of the house that was cleaned well and into which people were careful not to bring chametz afterward does not require a thorough search.
So essentially what that means is that your bdikat chametz on the night of the 14th with the candle and the bracha, you don't really need it anymore. Because you've cleaned the whole house. You made sure there's no chametz. What's the point of searching now? Well, some people don't like this idea because that's the rabbi's institution, is that we do that searching on the night of the 14th. So you can't rely on what you did. You have to go and research. You have to go through the house properly, once again, in a serious way. Although, we're going to see the more lenient approach says you rely on what you cleaned. So you just sort of do many times. I was in the army, right? So everybody has to clean their barracks or clean their weapons and all of their instruments. And then comes inspection time. The supervisor comes and inspects, the picture with the dust. Right there. The inspector doesn't do much. He walks around to make sure, but the threat that he's coming, that he makes sure that everything is done. So in many ways, in many homes, essentially what the bdikat chametz on the night of the 14th is, it's just the inspection, really, after the heavy work has been done.
Yes, right.
And you can be lenient that way. He says here, this stringent opinion, go ahead, Ravid. However, some poskim
take a stringent position in this regard and said that the cleaning does not change a thing for the sages ordained searching the cracks and crevices of one's entire home on the night of the 14th. Our poskim are stringent on the ground that one cannot rely upon previous cleaning unless it was carried out at the night by the light of a candle. Only in this manner, they maintain, is it possible to discern the hametz in the cracks and crevices. In practice, though, the custom is to follow the lenient approach and to perform a relatively cursory search of all those places that were cleaned beforehand. This makes sense, for if a room has been cleaned well and afterward people were careful not to enter with chametz, it has the status of a place into which no chametz was ever brought, which in principle does not need to be searched. Although a search is not effective unless it was carried out at night by the light of a candle, and through cleaning is more effective than searching. For example, when one cleans a clothing closet, he takes out all of its contents and wipes all of the shelves. After this, the chances of chametz remaining are less than the chances of finding chametz remaining thereafter a thorough search on the night of the 14th by candlelight. Nonetheless, ever after such a thorough cleaning, one must search for chametz, which bracha on the night of the 14th, because of the dining area certainly needs to be searched. In addition, one may have forgotten to clean a closet, drawer, or corner. Thus, when performing the cut chametz, one must search the entire house and confirm that everything has indeed been cleaned well. If the one performing the search did not participate in the cleaning, he must ask those who cleaned to search with him so that he may ask them if each part of the house he inspects was properly cleaned. Alternatively, they can mark all properly cleaned places with stickers, and all such places need only to be given a cursory search. However, even when performing a casual search, one must check every corner of the room, along the walls and between the furniture, and one must open every closet and drawer that could possibly contain chametz in order to assure that they are indeed clean and remain so. Searching a room in this manner should take no more than a few minutes.
Okay, so you're getting ready in your home for Pesach, and you've been cleaning to make sure that there's no chametz anywhere for a few days, maybe a few weeks, and now is the night of the 14th. You light a candle, you make the bracha. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. Does anybody remember what it is? Asher kidshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu al bi'ur. Bi'ur chametz. Bi'ur means to destroy. It's a catch-all name for the searching. Is essentially it's a way that we destroy. You don't have to destroy by burning. Mm-hmm. The destroying is to look for it and to get rid of it. So that's all part of bi'ur chametz. So the bracha is for bi'ur chametz, and then you start to check how long should it take, in your estimation. If you have a 3-bedroom house, couple hours. What do you think?
You say an hour if you have because you say
half an hour. You say
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Half an hour, yeah.
20 minutes.
Yeah, maybe even 20 minutes. If the house has already been pre-cleaned,
It's just,
and you made sure that, okay, no kids came in carrying crackers, spreading it everywhere. If you made sure to keep it, thank you, or hamantashen. If you made sure to that it remains clean from when you cleaned it, it really is just a few minutes in each room, like you said. It shouldn't take more than 20 minutes, half an hour, depending on how large your house is. However, in many Pesachim, my bdikat chametz took hours and hours and hours. Why?
Because they didn't clean before.
That's right. Because I didn't get a chance to clean properly beforehand. You know, when you have little kids, there's always things that happen, and it's hard to get everything done. And then also, when you're doing the bdikah, you're going through, I forgot to clean the car. I forgot to clean that area where we just, keep some things, and we don't go there so often, but maybe we did. Maybe the basement. And doing this supervisory inspection, sometimes you come up with things that you still haven't done yet.
Right.
And oftentimes, so when do you do them? You do them now. Like the original idea was that they're supposed to be done on the night of the 14th. So many times it's bad. It gets to be midnight, and I've not yet finished my bdikat chametz. And the truth is, many times what you do is you say, okay, I'm gonna, do section by section, prepare in the week before, and so that the actual bdikat chametz can take only a few minutes. Every room you have to make sure that you cover all the bases. But if it's all pre-checked, most people have it ready. But sometimes if you're actually cleaning on the night of Pesach, it's not a bad thing. That's the original idea. You should clean and search for the chametz on the night of the 14th. Luckily, we live in a very affluent society where the houses are more than one room, and it can take you longer to clean. Either do it prepare, or you're going to have a tough night, the night of the 14th, trying to get it all done in one evening.
Especially when you have young kids.
Especially, right. For a couple of years when our kids were young, I remember my mother used to babysit for them. She took them for a few days, and we could clean in peace. And then we brought them back for bdikat chametz, and then we really had a ritual, sort of, we walked around the house with the candle at night, and it's exciting, it's romantic, but the work was already done, because, when you, if you have that opportunity of having help, not everybody does. So, anyways, that's what it looks like. Now, there is one problem with this custom, and that is, What happens if you clean so well in the weeks before Pesach? You light your candle, you make your bracha. You don't find any chametz.
Like a bracha al-batala.
Maybe it's a bracha levatala. Because you're not finding anything. So the truth is, it's really not a problem. It's really not such a problem because the mitzvah is to search. You don't find. Like we said yesterday, it's a strange concept. Some achronim write that you should buy chametz in order to destroy it. But so really, it's not such a problem. But just to be certain, there is a custom to actually hide pieces of bread. So for sure, you're going to find some pieces of bread on the search. Let's read that section now. David, will you read for us, please, section 9?
Hiding pieces of bread and receiving help from family members. It is customary hide pieces of bread.
Two, I guess it's a misprint here, yeah.
For hide pieces of bread before Bedikat Hametz, so that the person performing the search will have to discover them. Some maintain that this custom is meant to ensure that the searcher finds Hametz, because if he does not, his bracha may have been in vain. In truth, though, this is not the case, for even if no Hametz was discovered, there is no bracha levatala, since the objective of the search is to ensure that there is no fraud. In addition, the bracha...
There's no chametz in the house, and this objective is achieved even if no chametz is found. You skipped a line. In addition,
the bracha is not on the search alone, rather it covers the entire process of chametz removal, which begins with the bedikah and ends with the biur and bitul of the chametz the following day. This is evident from the fact that the bracha is al biur chametz and not al bedikat chametz. Thus, even if one does not find chametz in his search, he continues the process of removing the chametz the next morning, and hence his bracha is not in vain. Nonetheless, this Jewish custom should not be discontinued. Arizal himself had a custom to scatter 10 pieces of bread before his search. Some poskim explain that the reason for this practice is so that some chametz will remain after the search, and thus one will not forget to nullify his chametz. Wait, they say you have to leave actually chametz?
You take 10 pieces of bread and you put them in different places around the house so you can find them and destroy them.
For that purpose.
Yeah, for that purpose, yeah.
Wait, I just... Okay.
And maybe, if you have bread, then you'll nullify. If you don't have bread, what's to nullify? You might not nullify, and then maybe you'll find something. We want to do the nullification and the search. So sort of one connects to the other if you have the actual results of your search.
Another explanation is that these pieces will ensure that one is not negligent in his search. Therefore, where the house has received the thorough cleaning, and in principle a casual search is sufficient, the pieces of bread should be put in places where they can be found without much trouble. But where the house has not been cleaned well, they should be hidden more carefully. At any rate, it is a good idea for the person who scatters them to make a list of where he hid them, so that if they are not found initially, he will still be possible to locate and move them.
This has happened too often. You do the bdikat chametz. Now your house is all clean. And the person, usually it's my wife who hides them, and then I go, I don't know where they are, and I have to go search for them. It's fun. But then the problem is, you think it's going to take you 20 minutes or half an hour to get through the house, and then you only find 9. Where is the 10th piece of bread? Now you know there's a piece of bread somewhere in the house and you can't find it.
Maybe you have a cat and they play with it.
Maybe. Anything could happen, so you start to go crazy, and now it's the night before Pesach. You want the house is all clean, but you can't stop because you've got to find the 10th piece. So it's a good tip. Let the person hiding it write down exactly where they put it, just so you don't forget it, just to be sure. Okay.
After the search, one should nullify the chametz that he did not find and that might remain in the house, as will be explained in chapter 5:1. Chapter 5:1. One must exercise extreme caution with the chametz that was found and the chametz that he plans to eat until the following morning, making sure that they not become scattered about the house. If it is difficult for one to search the entire house on his own, he may ask family members to help him. In this case, they should stand next to him while he recites the bracha and answer Amen. Then they should spread out in the house and search it. If the homeowner is unable to perform the search, he should ask somebody else to search for him, and the searchers say the bracha.
Okay, so that's usually why we gather together. Everybody listens to the bracha, and then in my house we walk around the house together with the candle. Not everybody has a candle, and it's a family event. But you could theoretically split up to search. You go there, you go there. You know, find that chametz. Okay, what we're going to do now is I'd like you to read silently sections 10 and 11 and 12, and then we'll pick up in a few minutes and we'll discuss them, and then we'll finish off the chapter, okay? With 13, 14, 14. If you can finish the chapter, we'll have silent reading for the next 10 minutes or so, and then we'll take it up, okay? You can make notes, write down questions if you have, and I'll be with you in a few minutes.
Good for Weinberg.
Boker Tov, welcome. Welcome. We're learning silently, page 51 through the end of chapter 4.
Oh, interesting.
Just finished chapter 4.
Yeah.
Ten and 11, right? Should
Till the end of the chapter, if
Ah,
possible.
okay.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah. Okay, just another minute and we'll take it out. Okay. So two things, I'll take your questions before. Let me summarize what 2 points that we should take away from this chapter 4. Number one, I hope you noticed on the last page, he mentions the trick I taught you. That if there's difficult to reach places, essentially you don't really have to check there if you don't go there. But since you do go there, you have to check there, but it's very hard, like behind a closet. Who goes behind the closet? But it could be that someone's child put some food behind the closet. What did I mention yesterday? My daughter and her sticking the bread into the keyhole. So the easiest solution for these places, which actually require bedika, but they're very hard to get to, is just to put some soap there, put some bleach or something, cleaning liquid, which is even if there's something there, it's not fit for consumption anymore, and it's not considered food, and therefore it doesn't have to be searched and removed. The chametz doesn't have to be removed from there. That's the one point we mentioned here. It is in the book, okay? And I suggested yesterday expanding the use of that pretty much to anywhere where you don't want to, chase after every little crumb, which is less than a kazayit. You can use this system of being pogim, of whatever, making a spoiled, whatever little crumbs might be there. That's one point. Second point is, he's been playing with this the entire chapter, what to do with this obligation to check. We have an obligation to do b'dikat chametz, but in many circumstances, you can avoid it totally. If you leave your house and you sell the entire house for Pesach, you're going traveling for the entire Pesach, you don't have to, it's sold to a non-Jew, it's not yours. There's a few problems though, because number one, you shouldn't sell your house to a non-Jew in Israel. So, okay, so you rent it. Okay, but still, so you don't have to check if it's all rented out. So the only problem with that is that there's a mitzvah to check. There's a bracha, mitzvah derabanan, to check the chametz on the night of the 14th. And so the best solution is leave over one little room or one part of something in your belongings which is not being sold to your suitcase, or one room out of the house that you're not selling to the non-Jew. Do the bedika there. If it's within 30 days, you do the bedika before you leave without a bracha, but you do the bedika and you fulfill the mitzvah of doing bedikat chametz in some way. So you're not totally avoiding the mitzvah. And the rest is sold to a non-Jew. You don't have to worry about it. So this is the basic practice. If possible, you make the sale take effect the night before the 14th. And so you don't have that obligation devolve upon you on the night of the 14th. But it's hard to find the rabbi who does that. Most of the rabbis sell at the 11 o'clock. the last hour, when you're allowed to still own and benefit from the chametz, and it's going to take effect then. So that means the night of the 14th, it was still yours. So you had an obligation to check for it, and then, when you get it back, you have to check then. And so fulfill your obligation some way on the night of the 14th in another place. And then if it's sold for the rest of your possessions are sold, properties are sold to a non-Jew, that's fine. You don't really have to go through. That's why a lot of people, I don't know if you're aware of this, a lot of the people, because they never learned properly how to clean, and they don't have all the tips that we've been teaching you, they really are scared. They're scared of the hard work that goes into cleaning for Pesach. So scared, and people encourage them to be scared. You know why? It's a big business. It's a big business, the hotel industry. People go away, and they say, instead of cleaning for Pesach this year, go away for 7 days, and we'll make a nice cut. And you'll have, this is real, it's happened, it's real. People sell Pesach packages, where you leave the house for the entire Pesach, in order not to have to clean. Because they think cleaning for Pesach is so onerous, and it can be difficult there, right? There is some room for that, because we haven't even talked about how to kosher your kitchen, and that's a process which takes time. And so a lot of people say, I don't want to bother. I'm just going to leave the house, and it's nice to go to a hotel. Anyways, it's a vacation, it's a holiday. I should rest and relax. And even though you have to be lenient on the custom we mentioned yesterday of not eating anywhere outside your home, right? Some families don't rely on anybody else's kashrut. If you go to a hotel, you are. So in any case, this is a common phenomenon. And of course, I said it's encouraged by the industry, by the hotel industry. They want to get the business. And so they say, come for the entire Pesach. You won't have to clean your house at all. You won't have to kosher. And it's true, except for the one caveat which we've been mentioning, is that you have to fulfill the mitzvah of b'dikat chametz somewhere, somehow. And so you have to make such arrangements. But it's possible to make such arrangements, leave one room and then do the b'dika before you leave. On that small room, which is easy, that just takes a few minutes. And but then the rest of the house, including the kitchen, which is the hardest part to check, sold to a non-Jew for the entire week, and then you go off and you vacation, and hopefully it's a nice hotel. Okay, questions? Yes, please.
Yeah, right. In Eretz Israel, it's forbidden to sell a house to a Gentile. Why is this?
So it goes way back to the Bible, biblical times. The residents of Israel were pagans, and there was a mitzvah to get rid of them, to remove them from the land, and don't let any space in the land for those pagans. There's even 7 specific nations which we had to wage war, similar to Amalek, destroy all of their possessions, and a very, very severe and difficult mitzvah. But until even after the biblical times, the law of not allowing non-Jews, pagans, became any non-Jew. The land of Israel is for the Jews. We're supposed to settle the land. Jewish people are supposed to conquer the land and settle it, and we want to encourage as many Jews to be in Israel. And so there are sanctions. There's even there's sanctions and prohibitions. We don't want to encourage the non-Jews to settle the land. We want to encourage the Jews to settle the land. And so there are laws on the books. Now, how to interpret those laws nowadays? Many people say, well, if they're not idol worshippers, if they're upstanding citizens, even if they're not Jewish, there's nothing wrong with supporting them, and we even have a mitzvah to support them in some ways. And so it's complicated just to translate that to the current situation. Of course, we want to encourage, till today, we want to encourage Jewish people to settle in the land, and we want to have more and more possession of the land by Jews. But and that's why it's discouraged from selling the land to a non-Jew. Although, as I said, in the current situation, there may be room to be lenient when it comes to somebody who's an upstanding citizen, is not an idol worshiper, and he's not going to be, sexual immoral, and anybody There's the concept of the 7 basic laws of the Noahide laws. So this concept called Gertoshav. So we don't really officially have a Gertoshav when we don't have the Yovel. We don't have the halachic status. There's no beitin that creates a Gertoshav. But the conceptually, what a Gertoshav is somebody who's not Jewish, but he's willing to accept the sovereignty of the Jewish people in the land, and he's not going to work against us, and he's hopefully he even believes in the God of the Jews and accepts that this is the land of the Jews. And here and there, for example, we've been speaking about selling to a Gentile. Well, how can you sell the chametz and all these properties to a Gentile? The Rabbanut in recent years has been sitting down as a Beit Din, the chief rabbi with 2 other rabbis, create a Beit Din, and they make somebody into a Gertoshav. That, even though we don't really do that until the Yovel, but they said for the sake of the mitzvah, they create a Gertoshav and then they sell the chametz to that Gertoshav.
How do they create a Gertoshav?
That's the right of a court, a Beit Din. They created such Beit Din knows how to do it. They define somebody as a Gertoshav, and then they sell the chametz to him to avoid this problem of selling the land or properties to a non-Jew. But for years they never did that. They just made sure to sell it to somebody who was not a pagan and not somebody who's, and perhaps it was rented instead of actually properly sold, so to avoid this law of selling the land to a non-Jew. Okay, another question, Thomas. We're going around the room, so.
Okay, so what define a wine kosher lePesach?
What about wine kosher lePesach? It's they're very careful about wines in most kosher wineries all year round to make it kosher lePesach. All it means is that you made sure that the workers are not having a snack or a sandwich while they're processing the wine, while they're handling it. No crumbs are going to fall in and stuff like that. Other than that, wine is just wine. What could be not kosher about it, right? There's no chametz in the wine.
Collection of expensive whiskeys. I put only in one part of the house. I close the door. But it's true that I have also to...
Not good enough. You have to sell it.
Yeah.
Putting it aside, you still own it.
Right. And then I also have to give him the keys of the house because the key. Ideally,
yeah, the key. Yeah, that's ideal. Usually we're lenient. Nowadays we say, because who's fooling who? The non-Jew is not going to go collecting bottles of whiskey from all the people's houses, and we all know that we're going to buy it back from him after Pesach. And so some people say to make the sale more real, you should give him the key. Nowadays you should write down your phone number, so you should be accessible in case he wants to call you up in the middle of Pesach and get a bottle of whiskey. But primarily, if you have the address there, and he has the rabbi's phone number, that's enough. Usually we don't actually give over the keys, unless you have a factory, which is all chametz. And really, that's what the sale of chametz was designed for. It wasn't initially designed for, if you have 1 bottle of whiskey or 2 bottles of whiskey, you pour it down the drain if you didn't drink it before. The mitzvah of the Torah is to get rid of the chametz that you own. But the custom has developed that people don't like losing money, even if it's $100 or $200 for a bottle of whiskey. And so they do sell, even individuals sell their chametz. And that already, once individuals are selling chametz, even for a bag of pasta, people put it in a cupboard and they sell it. I try not to. I try to get rid of all my... It's called chametz gamur. We've been speaking about it. Something which actually is real chametz. There's all sorts of chametz nukshe and sorts of food products which are not really chametz, but they just don't say kosher lePesach on them. So those are things that I sell, but I try not to sell any chametz gamur. I get rid of all my whiskeys before Pesach and all my pasta and all my leftover breads and wheat and so forth. You are going to, Bezrat Hashem. I'm inviting you all over to my house on my Purim. in the morning for a get together. We'll get you the details soon. It's not your Purim yet, so you have to make sure you'll be back in Yerushalayim to help me drink all my chametz. And not that I need any help, but no, I don't have that much. But we will be getting rid of the chametz before Pesach.
Yeah.
And I don't sell my whiskeys. I don't judge others. If someone has an entire liquor cabinet it's worth thousands of dollars, it could be a large expense, and I understand he doesn't want to pour it down the drain. But I've poured things down the drain because the original mitzvah is to get rid of the chametz, not to sell it to a non-Jew. That is for like Rami Levi, right? He's got holdings of kilos and kilos of hundreds and hundreds. It's worth millions of dollars. If you were to just throw that down the drain, you can't expect that tremendous loss. So that's why they designed this mechirat chametz, and he sells, and all the big manufacturers, that's they sell their chametz to a non-Jew, and they don't have to get rid of it. But for your own, for the consumer, for the average family, the ideal is to get rid of the chametz before Pesach. Yeah, Moshe.
Okay, let's say I have a bottle of like Yonatan Lalachet, and it's
I got the joke, but do you have a real question, or do you just wanted to make the joke?
Real question.
Yeah.
Real question. I wanted to make a joke, but it's a real question.
Okay.
It's like, well, it's not really worth. It's not. It's like half full. It's like it's not really worth me trying to sell it to someone, but I don't want to waste it. Pour it down the drain.
Give it to a non-Jew, sure.
Just give it to a non-Jew.
Yeah. Of course, in Israel it's more complicated because you don't want to be encouraging the non-Jews to settle here. But we do give gifts to non-Jews often for politeness, cordial, friendship. You can give it to non-Jews as long as it's a proper gift. Yeah.
But let's say there's just let's say Chris Christensen's living in the neighborhood. He knows what chametz is and he vaguely understands.
No problem. Give it to him. So yeah, if it's a real gift and he knows that and he accepts it, it's not yours anymore. And there's no reason you don't have to throw it down the drain. You were waiting, Michael, to ask a question. Yeah.
So I want to say, I can imagine that some people they sell their house instead of cleaning it, because some people they have sometimes have many books and stuff
It's hard to clean. Yeah.
Imagine.
You can imagine.
But also, I have a question. Maybe it's silly, but how do homeless people fulfill this mitzvah? Of he's free of it? Or because they have no home?
I think a lot of people nowadays got used to the idea of selling chametz. And as they clean their homes and they gather up whatever they find, whatever's left, whether it's crackers and cookies and pasta, they gather it up and put it in one cabinet. And then they go to the rabbi and they sign a document which says, I'm appointing you to sell my chametz for me. And then they leave it in the house till after Pesach. The rabbi buys it back for them, and then they go on with their lives. It's very common.
We do this very much in the Netherlands.
Yeah. Good.
So
Okay.
It's
kosher. You sell it to a non-Jew.
It's still in your
It's still in your home. You have to put a sticker on it or tape around the cabinet to make sure that you don't go there by accident on Pesach. But a lot of people utilize the sale.
It's the same. It's the same with what we see in the supermarket.
That's what they're doing. Yeah, you have entire shelving, entire aisles which are covered with paper,
You don't
and
see it, but it's still there.
you can see that it's there. But we cover it just so nobody by accident. The truth is, in Israel, the last time I saw this, someone took something, which was from behind the coverings, and they go to the cash register, and it wouldn't go through.
Really?
It wouldn't go through. For example, all the pastas, they just canceled out the barcode for that week, and then they don't have any problems. So that's a level I've never seen that before. But okay, what else? Another question, Thomas. Yeah.
Hypothetically, you live for several months out of Israel.
Yeah.
And then you came to your home in Israel.
Yes.
On 10 minutes before the last day of Pesach.
Okay.
And then the last day is a Yom Tov, and you don't have enough time to grab all the chametz that you have in the house and to throw away. You can't even put in the toilet because it's too much.
Yes.
So
the best thing you should do is, of course, you'll be selling your property in the land of Israel before Pesach. You will have sold it to a non-Jew. So whatever's in there is sold to a non-Jew. And so if you come there On Pesach, be careful not to take anything, not to, but technically you're covered because it's not your chametz. When Pesach is over, then you'll be able to use it. As long as you've fulfilled the mitzvah of bedika somewhere else. Personally, you maybe have another home. It sounds like you have a home in Italy. So you've checked in the mitzvah of bedika there, and so the home, the extra holdings that you have was sold to a non-Jew. They're just sold to a non-Jew, and you really shouldn't be there on Pesach. But if you are, it doesn't invalidate the sale.
But even with the bitul that I've done in Italy, I'm covered even in Israel.
Yeah. There's a discussion here of the time change and the differences in terms of when exactly to effect the sale. And some rabbis are careful about that, and they do. But the bottom line is, it's kosher if you sell in one country, even the properties in another country. It's best to be aware of that. And the rabbi should have the time appropriate for where your Pesach is. If you're in Italy, your timing is Italy time. If you're in Israel, it's Israel time. And so your holdings should be sold before Pesach starts for you, before the 11th hour of, 11 o'clock on the 14th. Yeah. Question?
Yeah, I said a thing because if I have things in Europe,
yes.
and I'm living here, I'm responsible for the things over there.
If it's your property, you're responsible for it. Yeah. You do the bedika here, you could appoint somebody to do it there, or if, you just sell it, so then you don't have to do bedika there. Yeah.
As long as you are the owner.
Sell it to a non-Jew. With the rabbi here, you can sell it to the non-Jew. Yeah, you just tell them the address, and put the address, sure, yeah. Your phone number usually, sorry?
Must kasherize all the utensils that we have in the kitchen.
Over there?
Not there. Here, if you're not using it, you don't have to kasher it. Okay, yeah. Okay, good. So let's go on a little bit further. Just have a few more minutes. Chapter 5. Bitul and biur chametz. So as we said, we do action and we do thought. It says, so the process has 4 stages. I'm looking at the page 59. Okay, beginning of chapter. The first 2, bedika and the first bitul, are performed on the evening of the 14th. The second 2 stages, biur and the second bitul, take place the following morning. Okay, bitul chametz, we do it twice. Once at night and once in the morning. There's 2 stages of 2 types of bitul. Let's see. We nullify it mentally. To make the process easier, a formal declaration was composed. It's in Aramaic, and it reads as follows: Kol chamer v'chamer adika b'shuti, delo chazite, delo bi'arte, delo vatil, havi k'hefker k'afar da'ara. And in Hebrew, you have it. In English, you have it as well. On the next page, it says all chametz and seor. What is seor? Who remembers? Yeast, right? Or here they translate it as leaven. In my possession, that I have not seen, right? Because now you've checked. You've checked everything, but you left some over. What have you left over in the night of the 14th? When you did the b'dikat chametz, you walked around with the candle. What do you have in your possession? At least you have 10 pieces of chametz, right? That you're going to burn the following morning. So you can't say I'm nullifying all chametz in my possession. You have to accept what you found that you're going to burn. Mm-hmm. And maybe you left over a little bit of cereal for breakfast, right? The following morning, you're still allowed to eat until 10 o'clock, chametz, right? So maybe you left over some rolls. You're allowed to. So you're only referring here to all the chametz that I have not seen and I have not eliminated. Maybe there's something left over somewhere that I didn't find. I searched everywhere I could. I'm going to nullify it now. Okay, the Sephardic version mentions only chametz, which includes leaven, and it doesn't speak about making it ownerless. They just speak about nullification, and the assumption is that includes renunciation of ownership. Okay, so the following day, if you look on the following page, page 61, we change the language a little bit, because here, when do we recite the bitul? Stage 2?
In the morning.
When in the morning?
Before midday.
Before midday, when?
Was before destroying.
No.
Exactly. After burning the chametz from the 10 pieces and whatever's left over, you put it in the fire and now it's all burnt. So now you can change and make the nullification totally complete. Let's see on page 61. All chametz and leaven in my possession that I have seen, that's these 10 pieces, and that I have not seen, whatever, I didn't find, that I have destroyed and that I have not destroyed. All of it shall be nullified and become ownerless like the dust of the earth. Okay? So we have two different versions. It's almost the same, just we include a little more in the morning because we've already done the burning of whatever's left over. So now you can totally nullify. And the significance is what we have to learn about. Let's just read the beginning of it. As it says, you can say it in Hebrew or any language you want. You have to, because you really have to understand it. There's two ways to understand what you're doing when you're doing nullification. Rashi and Ramban explain that man has the power to nullify chametz. This capacity is unique to the context of chametz, since according to the Torah, chametz is entirely insignificant during Pesach. It is forbidden to derive benefit from it, and consequently, it is like the dust of the earth, lacking all importance. In one respect alone does chametz retain significance during Pesach. If it remains in one's house, he transgresses the law of Bal Yireh Bal Yamatzeh. However, if one nullifies his chametz before it becomes forbidden, he has fulfilled the intention of the Torah, and if such a person keeps chametz in his possession during Pesach, he will not have violated Bal Yireh Bal Yamatzeh. Tosfot explained that the bitul is effective because it renders the chametz ownerless, hefker. Sages teach that Bal Yireh Bal Yamatzeh applies only to chametz one owns, and not to ownerless chametz. Thus, according to the first explanation, nullification focuses on the chametz itself. According to the second explanation, nullification is directed at the owner, who relinquishes his ownership over the chametz. The Ashkenazic version of the doctrine takes both explanations into account. Therefore, mentions nullification and renunciation of ownership. Sephardic version mentions only nullification, which includes renunciation. For something is nullified, it consequently becomes ownerless. So this is interesting. We don't have time to develop it too much, but what Rav Melamed just sort of hinted to and said very quickly was that basically when Pesach starts, the Torah declares all chametz as not chametz anymore. It's sort of how did he say that by Torah law it's insignificant. A Jew cannot really own chametz on Pesach, because once Pesach starts, chametz is insignificant. It's like a Jew and chametz, they don't mix, and therefore chametz it's like a non-entity for a Jew. However, so why bother renouncing it? Why bother renouncing it, or why bother nullifying it? Because there's only one significance to the chametz on Pesach, and that is its prohibition. It's only there for you to violate the law with. In other words, if the Torah says you're responsible for it, and that's what the only significance it has on Pesach. And that's why we have to do this nullification. We're nullifying it so that we will not violate this Torah law of ownership by making it significant and transgressing the law with it. So it's a little bit of a fine point, but the bottom line is this concept that your mind, right? We nullify we get rid of the chametz in two ways: action and thought. And the thought, we don't rely on it alone; we do both. But the thought is a significant stage, and basically, it sounds like you have to have two thoughts. If you think of the chametz for me is insignificant. It's like dust of the earth. It's insignificant. It's like nothing. It's worthless to me. And the second one is, I'm not the owner of it. Whatever, even if I do own it, I no longer own it. I make it ownerless. Hefker. Okay, we'll continue with the laws of bitul and the burning. Tomorrow's going to be a fiery day. We're gonna talk more about the sale, the details of the sale, which, as I said, quite commonly used, just in case you have stocks and bonds, and maybe if you can't give up on your expensive whiskeys, then we have to learn those laws, and we'll finish that Gertoshav tomorrow. All right, have a great day. See you.